This GPU is legendary. Statistically speaking, you are more likely to own this GPU than any other, despite the fact that this thing is like 5 years old, except I honestly haven't looked in the box yet. You might be able to tell it's used. I got the Amazon refurbished one, and I don't really want to talk about how much I paid for this. So in the box, we've got some foam and little Amazon renewed thing. So I think this means I get like a 90-day warranty type of thing on there, is how I understand it. Now let's look inside and hope it's actually what I bought. Then we'll actually, this is not just an unboxing, I'm gonna install this in my old computer, not the 5950X build, but the old i5-9600K build. Okay. We've got ourselves a GeForce GTX 1060. Yeah. Now this should be the 6 GB version, but we are gonna definitely pop this thing in the PC and boot it up and make sure, okay? And let's go ahead and get this thing in the PC and I'll tell you more about why I bought it. Well, like usual, I'm not set up super well to film this type of video, but we'll go for it and do the best we can. So why did I buy a 1060? And why am I putting it in here when I have an RX 6800 XT and a R9 5950X? Well, one thing I like to do is benchmark new games. And while doing that on my high-end system is certainly interesting, another thing that would be interesting to more people is how a GPU that they actually have, or one that's more similar to one that they actually have, might actually perform. So that's why we're gonna be putting this thing in here. I need to go get my screwdriver. Okay, so I need to get the screws out of here and then get this thing actually in the case. So the plan overall is as new games come out, well, I'll also test it out on some games that are already out for sure, like, is a 1060 still good enough? Now, at what resolution? This is definitely gonna be targeting 1080p, and the plan will be to see, like, how viable for 1080p gaming is a 1060, since according to the Steam hardware survey, this is still the most popular GPU, followed by a 1050 Ti, which is actually much weaker. Okay, so let's slot this in. I really hope this card works. We'll definitely boot that up at the end of the video and double check. Okay. All right, well, it's slotted in. I forgot what it's like to have a small graphics card. That 6800 XT is gigantic. So I'm going to definitely be testing this out as new games come out. Like when Battlefield 2042 comes out, we're gonna find out, you know, could this play that game at 1080p? And, you know, are we getting 60 frames per second at low or only 30 frames per second? And in all my future benchmark videos, I'm hoping that I'll have time to get this one in there. Because I've never owned this particular GPU. I went from a 970 to a 2070. So I'm really curious what type of performance this thing actually gets. By the way, one way that I'll be doing the recordings is I'm hoping to actually run this one through an HDMI splitter and use the 5950X build to capture the footage so that we don't put any extra strain on the recording process using this GPU. All right, it seems like we've got it powered, and this system I know works other than the GPU, so it should post as long as the GPU is working. And let's go ahead and find out. All right, well, we plugged it in. Let's see if it turns on. I think I got my mouse and keyboard plugged in. I may or may not actually run this on the big ultra wide. I do have an old 1080p monitor, which would be a nice fit for it. The question is, do I have anywhere to put it on my desk? But I could run a letterboxed 1080p, or I can just play it stretched. We'll see what I want to do. I also don't actually know the specs on the HDMI output on that, so I definitely know it's not 2.1, but we're just running 1080p here anyway. All right, let's see if we can find, if I hopefully have GPU-Z installed. Okay, well, GPU-Z does appear to be reporting a 1066 gigabyte. Okay, well, I don't have most of my hard drives in this computer anymore, but it looks like we do have The Witcher 3 installed, which obviously isn't a brand new game, but should give me a rough idea of if the graphics card is working. The awful game optimizer sound. My main issue with this TV, I've reported this in another video with the C1, is that every time it power cycles or it gets a new input, it turns on the AI game sound, which I just think sounds really harsh and just not great. All right, we are loading. Okay, well, we are running the game. And I think the reason we're at 26 frames per second is these are probably still the completely maxed out settings I was using on my RX 6800 XT. Wow, it feels really slow just moving the mouse. So what if we didn't play at 4K? What if we played at 1080p? Because that's where I think this card makes the most sense. Sure to make changes? Yes. Okay, well, we are now running over 70 frames per second at Ultra at 1080p. So this card definitely can handle an older game like The Witcher 3. I look forward to testing out all the new titles coming up. Forza Horizon 5, new Battlefield, Halo Infinite, all sorts of games coming out. Let's see how it does. I hope all of you guys have an excellent day.